We are back. We are back,
Yeah,
guys. So those other two episodes that we did, those weren't podcast episodes. Those were just college football playoff messing around. So this is actually episode 16.
16, 17.
Is it 16 or 15? I actually don't know.
I don't know.
We did good.
Look,
We had like four episodes in a row where we knew what was going on.
yeah,
And that's all we got. That's the best we can do for you.
yeah. That was after you like couldn't say a dozen.
Yeah, I didn't know what was going on there. I couldn't figure it out. I tried.
You
It was,
tried. You
it was
did.
a,
You did try, but it didn't quite work out.
there was a lot
Um,
happening.
so we did. So we did the part one and the part two of the college football playoff.
Yep.
Now, one thing I will say, that we've learned over the course of these videos and the comments and everything else. So there's a few things that we learned. One is that um there are a lot of more people out there than I thought there were that don't know what sarcasm is.
Yes.
So Arkansas, kind of like when you said, "Ooh, the big bad SE," that when you go, "Ooh," something like that, that's usually kind of like sarcasm.
Yeah, it's pretty good indication that I'm not being
That
serious. Yeah.
that's typically a trigger that you're laying on some sarcasm a little bit thick. So we got quite a bit of people who wanted to point out the fact that Arkansas was bad. Well, that was kind of like your point
That was literally the entire point of what I was
that
trying
you
to
could
say.
have an SEC schedule and still play bad teams.
That
Like
was
that's
quite
kind of
literally, yeah, that was quite literally my whole entire point. And people were on there being like, and they thought, yeah, just, and they
there was a
thought,
lot of people who, if you were standing behind these people, you would get hit directly
yeah,
with it because it was.
yeah.
But so there's that,
But
which
I
is
mean, these people, the thing too is they went into the comments and they were like so sure that they were making a point. They were like, bro, flex at Arkansas, clown emoji, laugh emoji. I'm like, wow. Like, wow. Like that's really impressive that you thought that you did something with that comment. Like it's
couldn't be more
very, very
wrong.
impressive.
Couldn't be more wrong with
Yeah.
with the flex. So there's so that that's probably on us that we assume that people would understand the sarcasm, but that's on us. We'll correct that. We'll fix that.
Yeah.
Whatever. We won't be sarcastic
Never
anymore.
again. No. Cause yeah,
Again,
that's
this face means that there's sarcasm. But anyway, what the other thing is that quite literally the amount of people that were trying to be so sure about one simple little fact and everything else quite literally made our point about the fact that this system is so flawed
mhm,
that one point that you think is so cut and dry is only 1 point out of 100 points
right.
that go into it. And each point that you think is so cut and dry can be disputed by another point that is also so cut and dry. And that's the whole point of what we were talking about. Like that it didn't make sense. You know what I mean? And so at the end of the day, whatever, yeah. JMU and Tulane are in because that's the way that it worked out based off of what they were doing and stuff like that. Like, fine, whatever. But the point is, it shouldn't be that way. We need
Right. We right.
last year. Last year we had Arizona State and who else was it that had a bye?
Arizona State and Boise
SMU,
or no, Boise State had a bye, yeah.
Boise State, or whatever it was, and everybody knew that that was dumb. So they changed it, but they didn't really they fixed that,
They
but
just
then
didn't
also
give them a
created
bye.
another problem. So this is what we're talking about. Like
But
we're
that's the point we were trying to make is everybody was coming at our throats. We're not like attacking the universities at all. We're attacking the committee. We're
right.
our problem isn't with JMU and Tulane. Congratulations, best of luck to you. Go in there and play your hearts out. Like we don't have a problem with this.
Exactly.
It's the
And
committee that doesn't make sense and that has a flawed system that we're upset with. We don't dislike Tulane, we don't dislike JMU, like we don't dislike any of these universities other than Michigan. But like the point is we
I'm not a
were
fan of Miami either, but
well,
listen,
but
look, yeah,
but that's the point I'm trying to
I could
make.
be,
It wasn't about the
straightforward about it.
universities. It
Yeah.
wasn't about the universities.
Well, I mean, I love the city of Miami. I just don't like the university.
We do love karaoke in the city of Miami.
Yeah. But again,
Karaoke.
look, here's the thing. I see all of the arguments for putting Miami in. They make sense. The problem is that's only part of the story.
Hmm.
Like for me, the issue is that what we have here is we have like chapters in a book, right?
Yeah.
And each chapter makes sense. But then when you put it with the other chapters, then it stops making sense.
Right.
Right. And that's what we're talking about. That's why let's avoid the confusion. Let's come up with a new system. We posted that one, and, getting some feedback and stuff on it like that. And I think that, there's some tweaks that people suggested in there that are awesome. And like, yeah, like let's make these two little tweaks and it's good. And that's the point of it. Let's figure that out and then move forward with something that everybody's okay with moving forward to where we're not going to have 500 comments on a post, which proves our point that all
That's
500 comments, well, not all 500. I mean, there's some that are just,
right.
trolls that love to jump in and stir the pot. But anyway, but the majority of the comments on their own are valid. The problem is that if you start to defend that with people who saying other things, then you start contradicting yourself,
Right.
and that's the point. Because I can sit here and I can say, well, Notre Dame deserves to be in all day long, and every single thing I say to defend them, I'm going to end up contradicting myself at some point,
Right.
right? Like me bashing Miami contradicts their tough game against Miami, right? Like you see how it's
Exactly.
silly, and that shouldn't be the case, and that's why we're the committee. That's why we came up with our new pro playoff thing and everything else. And again, like I said, people jumped in with some comments on it that were great comments that like what about the cross regional rivalries? Well, okay,
Yeah.
that's good point. Let's designate one or two spots in the schedule to be able to have those, and so on. So Notre Dame can play USC, and if it ends up that Oklahoma and Texas are split, we can keep the Red River rivalry,
Right.
and
Things like that.
like Georgia, Florida, that game always has to happen, and Army, Navy, and all these, there's the 6 games that have to happen
Of
every
course.
single year. Right,
Of
and
course.
then there's other ones like Michigan State. We love to see it, but those are all going to be in there
Yeah.
anyway because of them being so close. But there are some more cross regional rivalries that we don't want to see go by the wayside either. But no, so that was that, and I think it kind of just proved our point how how interactive it was. Nobody's having 500 comments about who's making the NFL playoffs.
Exactly. Exactly. That was the whole point we were trying to get at by the whole new college football system that we kind of came up with. And I seen a couple other accounts kind of were posting similar stuff, a little different tweaks here and there, but other accounts on Instagram were posting different rules.
Listen,
Ours,
you don't want to watch any other accounts
well,
because there's one they're either taking our idea and then changing it and making it worse, or they're just flat out ripping our idea. You know what? I'll sit there and I'm going to tell you this. We didn't get a chance to talk about this or whatever, but did you see my buddy
your buddy.
Joel Klatt
Oh yeah, he said the same exact thing we did.
about having a second division?
Hmm.
He saw. Listen, this is why he doesn't want to box, and so he's trying to be like, oh yeah, no, that was a great idea, so I'm going to use it. And so he saw, and he's like, maybe if I agree with him on this, he won't want to box me. I'm still going to box you. I want I want a payday. I deserve a payday. Listen, knock me out. You're probably going to knock me out. You're in hell of a lot better shape than I am. That's for damn sure. But I'll take the payday. I'll get
Yeah,
one or two shots in. It might
but
not
then you'll
hurt you,
spend your
but
whole entire paycheck on a hospital bill.
the payday,
Yeah, you're going to spend that whole entire payday on the hospital bill.
we'll just have to make it be more.
Okay. All right, Joel Klatt, you have 48 hours to respond.
It's good. It's good. Um, Aside from all of that, I don't know. What do you want to talk about? What's been going on?
I don't really think much has happened in sports recently. I don't know if. Oh, well, so there's the Schronmore fiasco.
Hold on a second. Was that sarcasm?
Why would you think that?
I don't know.
Why would I ever be sarcastic ever?
So, so yeah. So it's good. It's good. Listen, I appreciate it. I appreciate all the interaction, good, bad, and indifferent, whatever. It's awesome.
It's good.
You know,
We're getting people fired up. We're getting
it's
people
good.
engaged. It's a good time.
Conversation's always a good thing. Conversation's always a good thing. So
and
like it.
I loved it too because we're growing now. I mean, we've got a lot of people. We had a lot of interaction. We got a lot of people that are now more aware of how awesome our brand is.
Yeah.
So we got a couple we had a good wave of followers join in. We had a few people that haven't seen us before that came in. So it was
Most
a good
people
week.
hate us.
Well, I don't know. I think the
I
initial comments were like coming at us, but after that first wave of initial comments came through, there were a couple other people that were chiming in and sticking up for us. But that's just the way it works, man. When you have a sports take, it's that's just how
Yeah.
it is.
Well, there was a few that made a comment about our podcast equipment, and I completely agree. And we're taking donations to upgrade our equipment. So if anybody, like, subscribe, whatever, suggestions as to what we should get, and if
Yeah.
you want to make a donation, we're all for it.
Yeah, I
Listen,
definitely
I
would
mean,
I would like a new camera. I would like a new mic stand. I feel like I'm moving this around every episode because I don't know how to get it comfortable.
yeah,
Matter of fact, and while we're on the topic, I'm actually gonna move it right now because this is bothering me. Look at this. What is this going on here?
what I want people to know is
What
that
are we
before
doing?
we hit the record button, there's 15-20 minutes of this with the mic stand that goes on. And I'm
Because
tight. I can't take it. I can't take it anymore.
this
So
stand is not meant for a desk. It's meant
so
for
you
like
gotta
how we
go,
were.
I-
But see, now I have that exact same thing
so
holding
for
my
why
ring
don't you
light and
use
my
it?
camera right now. So
Huh?
that sucks.
Oh, it's holding the light for your
It's
camera.
holding the light and the camera.
Oh, well, you gotta have the camera.
Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take a picture of it and I'm gonna pop it up on the screen here. So there you go. It's on the screen right now for all the viewers. I'll show you too. You see what I'm saying? So, but
Yeah, I can see the light.
this is why we need more podcast equipment. So
Yeah.
yes, you were making comments about the podcast equipment, guys. Yeah, please. I
And
mean,
we completely
look at the
and as you
setup
can
we
see,
got.
my background changes every week because I can't
Yeah.
figure out what to do
I'm
to make
constantly
it,
moving my
whatever.
mic around.
These
'Cause-
lights kind of bother me, but then also at the same time, if they're not on, you can't see what's on the shelves
Yeah,
and whatever. But anyway, so no, but it's been good. It's been
a
good.
lot.
I like
It's a
it.
lot. A lot of
and,
hoops that we go through. A lot of hoops.
yeah, the interactions have been a lot of fun or whatever. But no, but seriously, so there's a lot that's happened, and so we had to kind of jump on, and we want to tackle a few topics. Obviously, the big one is Sharon Moore.
Wild
Um,
stuff, man. Wild stuff.
it's unbelievable. Listen, before we get into it, I do want to make one comment. Clearly, there's issues, and hopefully he gets the help he needs because this is bad.
Yeah, because
Um,
listen, we can sit here and be like, haha, Michigan, haha, which, I made a video earlier kind of just exposing Michigan for all the nonsense they've done the last 5 years. But if you notice in the caption of the video, I also said that I really feel for those that were affected negatively by this who had no play in it, right? Because this was a very kind of selfish incident, I think, from Sharon. But like you said, something's not right. I think he's going through some mental stuff that he needs help with because
yeah, and hopefully he gets it.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Because the reaction is extreme, So if anybody doesn't know what's going on, let's just go ahead and recap it. And so these are the reports that are coming out from all over the place, verified. Some are verified, some are alleged. Whatever. We'll just slap an alleged on everything that we're
Yeah.
just regurgitating what we've been able to find and what's been reported. So turns out that Sharon Moore was fired for cause from the University of Michigan. That same day, for inappropriate relationship with a staffer. So that's the first point that was said. So then come find out that he had been arrested and detained by police. Okay. Didn't really know what that was all about and all this other kind of stuff. Then it come out that he had, that he had gotten the staffer pregnant, forced her to get an abortion. And then after that, when he got fired and then his wife found out or whatever, then he ran over there with a knife and threatened her and threatened to off himself. And said, "I'm taking you down with me," and all this other kind of
Right.
stuff. His wife had was able to see his location on the phone and got people to intervene, which is good in that type of situation. So that's in a nutshell what happened. Now, come to find out, the phone call, the dispatch call was released, and the dispatch call says that apparently he had been stalking her for months. So that ties into another report that the University of Michigan knew about this for months.
Hmm.
They made the decision that they weren't going to do anything until the signing window was closed. Now, let's pause right there. Okay, because obviously there's a lot of stuff going on. There's this staffer that, there's his wife and kids, there's him, there's all this other kind of stuff and all that. Let's take the human stuff and again, you know, let's prayers for everybody. Hopefully everybody can come out of this okay. But if if the university knew about this and made the decision that they weren't going to fire him, now they said months. Okay, so this was going on during the tail end of the season
Yeah.
that he had been stalking her.
Right.
Okay, and that the university knew about it, but they didn't want to make a move until after the signing because they didn't want to lose recruits and stuff like that or whatever. That's, I mean, if I'm a recruit, you kept this from me. Like, you didn't let me make my decision. Like, you didn't come to me and say, "Hey, listen, here's where we're at. We're going to bring in another coach. We still feel like University of Michigan can stand on its own and whatever." But no, let's keep it from the recruits. Already, I saw, what was it? 4-star tight end, already flipped because of it. Also, what's come out is that it's reported, again, allegedly, and just reported in rumor or whatever, that now Bryce Underwood has received a $20 million offer from LSU and Lane Kiffin and is going to be announcing soon that he is going back to LSU.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's that.
Also, you've got the five-star running back Savion Hyder, who that is a decision that we're gonna wait to see what kind of happens here because he just signed with Michigan, right? And this goes back to right. So you've obviously got the people affected, right? Like Sharon's wife and his kids, and then the staffer, whatever the situation may be, they're affected, and those are the issues. The underlying issues there that are more important aside from a sport, right? But you look at it this way, like Savion Hyder, like this is a kid who's trying to plan his future and make a decision that puts him in the best possible spot going forward for his own life and for his family and everything. And for the university to blindside a kid like that who just made a huge decision to dedicate the next 4 years or 3 years of his life to this university, you blindside him with that type of information. I think it's just utterly disgusting. But
And for the
that's the
parents,
more underlying issue. There is the fact that with these recruits, so hopefully these
yeah.
guys can go transfer and do whatever without any sort of repercussions or anything coming up because that I mean that's just unbelievable.
And the parents Like think about like the parents, like when you're sending your kid off, like I mean, like where my standpoint of it is like, okay, well, I'm entrusting my child to this coach.
Yeah,
That means more to me than what is this university. You know what I mean? Like regardless of what university I want, you to go to or whatever, like if you're playing football and you're going to be in the spotlight and everything else, you need another father figure there, right there to help guide you. And so the coach is the most important thing. If the university knows that the coach that these parents are putting their trust in is not going to be there and they don't say anything, that's dirty pool. That's
exactly.
you,
That's what I'm
you
saying.
know what I mean? That's bad. It's a bad look. That's a bad look. Now look, I understand you're the University of Michigan. So look, you're going to be able to get some, but here's the other part of it though. Like some of the names that have been tossed about, right? Like Kalen DeBoer and stuff like that. Now it's saying that they have been for months already interviewing coaches. That came out too. So that they're probably going to name a coach here pretty soon because they've already been doing this, which is again unbelievable. Um, but Brian Kelly was on the list. Look at if I'm a parent and like I'm not going to entrust my kid to Brian Kelly.
I know, right?
You know what I mean? So if you're going to pull that rug and then replace it with Brian Kelly, like I'm upset.
Like that's in right. And so that's why I think like all these recruits and all these kids, they gotta jump ship and go elsewhere. Like, right, like
Right.
okay, so for example, like 5-star Savion, hey, come to Ohio State, man. Like we'll welcome you in with open
Yeah.
arms, right? I mean, you and
Yeah.
Bo can be a powerhouse back there. But no, in all seriousness though, like yeah, like these kids that like I said, this is their future, right? Like if and then like you said, like as a parent, if I was in a position here to sign with a school, you're right. Yes, the university has a part to play in it, right? Of course, like tradition and atmosphere and things like that. But you're right, it is the coach, right? Because I'm giving this coach my full attention. He's given me his attention. Like this is now becoming a partnership here that we have to trust in each other. And if I don't feel comfortable around my own coach, I mean, there's an issue here. I don't care,
Right.
right? As much as I love Ohio State more than anything in the world, right? Say some doucher came in and was the head coach. At the end of the day, if I'm an athlete,
If Brian Kelly was the head coach, you wouldn't be going to
I
Ohio
wouldn't
State.
be going to Ohio State. No,
Right.
and it would
Like I
it would
mean, you
suck.
just let's
It
let's
would
call
really,
that for
really,
what it
it
is.
would really, really, really suck. But that's
Right.
the unfortunate matter of it. And I'm going to tell you right now, uh, I think like there are two coaches right now in college football that I think are the best all around coach. One, Marcus Freeman. I think he is the best all around coach when it comes to how good he is at building the
Yeah.
program and winning games and things like that. But overall, just as a human being as well.
Right.
And then
And
my
how he
bias,
treats the players and takes care of the
exactly,
players and the players love.
exactly,
There's not a person who will say a bad thing
right,
about him as a player and stuff like that. So
right.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And then my bias, Ryan Day. I think Ryan Day is also a phenomenal person and a great coach as well. And I will say too, like also since I've like been on campus for the better half of the last year, like being around this atmosphere and being around the area, like just the kind of impact he has on Columbus and the university as a whole is pretty awesome. So I mean, those are two coaches that I would drop everything to play for, right? So if you're in a spot right now like Michigan, who you've got 5 years of scandal following you right now, you got to go out and you got to find yourself a guy like that, or else you're gonna watch one of the biggest programs in the country go downhill real fast, real fast.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, and then that begs the question too: is okay. So now here's the other part of it because I had the question earlier about like when they first went and got Bryce Underwood from LSU, and genuinely asking the question, and I don't know what the answer is or what the ruling is, but I thought that once National Signing Day is over and you sign your letter of intent and you register with the university, that you can't be contacted and recruited anymore unless it's during a transfer portal window. That was my thought.
Mm.
So when Dave Portnoy came out and was like, "Hey, I'm going to match all this money and everything to go get Bryce Underwood," he had already signed and registered with LSU. Wasn't that tampering?
It had to have been, right?
So, so I don't know. So now this is in the reverse, right? So now you're signing guys under the false pretense that everything's fine and Sharon Moore and your staff and everything is good, knowing in the background you're interviewing other coaches.
Yeah, it's
What
horrible.
kind of is I now I don't I now I don't know if the NCAA has, and again we've already talked about how the NCAA is literally like the Queen of England at this point in time. They really just don't have whole hell of a lot of power. But I mean, isn't there something that's kind of, you know, some type of a violation there? I don't know,
I mean, there's
but
got to be,
it
right? But
doesn't sit right with me on it. And that's, I mean, and here's the other part of it too. Like, because everybody goes, "Oh, you're just look." Listen, I don't know what benefit the University of Michigan gets by doing that.
mm,
Wouldn't it be better for them to fire Sharon Moore as soon as possible, get another coach in, and have the other coach in during the recruiting period?
right.
To me, like what I feel like you shot yourself in the foot by doing something that you didn't need to do that doesn't benefit you anyway,
Right.
right?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me, right? But I mean, once again, that I mean, this is this is the University of Michigan. This is U of M right here. I mean, this is just for a situation, right? Like, and again, people are going to sit here and be like, "Oh, you guys just hate Michigan," and da da da. Da. Okay, if we sat here and we would have said Southeast State Tech the whole time instead of saying University of Michigan, anybody would have listened to that and been like, "Wow, that's a crazy situation." So don't sit here and be like, "Oh, you guys just hate Michigan," and da da da. Because take the name of the school out of it. The situation as a whole, regardless of what university it is, it's a bad situation to be in all the way around.
And also don't cherry pick our comments too. Like, I mean, look, I mean, if you want to come at us for the entirety of it, but whatever. Because again, at the end of the day, like I started out by saying, I hope the guy gets the help that he needs. I don't see where the benefit of them lying and hiding the fact that they're firing him is I think I think that hurts them.
Yeah, more than anything,
I think that if you're going to hire Kalen DeBoer,
hire him.
hire him. He's listen. He People will say, well, he's not going to leave Alabama. Look, he knows the writings on the wall with Alabama. If he can come out of there saving face and go to another top 10 program in the country, then he's going to do it.
Yeah.
Right? Like
If he
he
goes
knows
on
that
to
the
win,
Alabama wasn't a good fit for him.
well,
So
not only that, but he's going to be in Saban shadows for his whole career. Even if he goes out and wins five
right.
national titles, cool. Like he's still going to be compared to Saban. He'll be a legend in
Yeah.
his own right, sure, and that's a great thing to do. But like he knows that as long as he's going to be at Alabama, he will be in Saban shadows, and he will never be able to shake that. So
Yeah.
I feel like right now, yeah, I mean, it's not out of the ordinary. Like it wouldn't be bizarre for him to do that. Obviously, I would imagine they probably like they might go after him right now. I would imagine they wouldn't announce anything or he wouldn't sign anything until after the playoff. I mean, he's got a game coming up in 2 days, so like
But they've got to get going and starting to save these recruits. You
that's the other
already
part of
got
it too.
people
So
that
then
are
what
like, well,
happens? Does he
hold.
sign but continue out at Alabama
Well, I mean, that's what what's his face is doing.
at
Cheney's
Tulane?
doing at JMU. That's what Sumrall's doing at Tulane. That's what Heartline did during the Big Ten championship. So I mean, there's precedent for that to be the case. Um, I don't know.
That'd be it's
Again,
that's an interesting situation. We'll see.
so that's the other part of it too. If Kalen DeBoer is going to leave Alabama, and then would the committee have put Alabama in
See, and that's so there you go. There we
with
go.
three losses after getting trucked in the SEC
All
championship
for
game
your coach to leave. Would you have put Vandy or BYU or Notre Dame in instead?
or Texas?
Texas? Yeah,
Probably.
probably. So that's what's well, okay, so let's kind of shift. Let's start shifting a little
Yeah.
bit. Let's keep it flowing. While we're
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
topic, you mentioned Texas. Stefanski, not Stefanski. He needs to be fired. While we're on the topic of coaches being fired, Stefanski. What? I'm drawing a blank. What's his name? Texas's head coach.
Sarkisian.
Chark. Yeah. So
Sark.
Sark. So he basically said, because everybody was talking about, like him being Texas being left out or whatever, and this scheduling games or whatever, and he was like, okay, aside from our 1-1 that we have with Michigan and Ohio State, then we're not going to look any further into it because apparently, why would we do that? We thought we were going to be doing something good here, and he's like, obviously nobody cares that we're putting ourselves in a tougher situation. So he's like, why should we? He's like, why should we look further into 1-1s with other? He's like, I don't see any point of it, and I agree with him. I do. It doesn't
Every,
make any sense.
every single every single top 50 program in the country. I'll go to top 50 because there can be movement, up into the top 25, out of the top 25, whatever. I'll say it, every top 50 program in the country needs to exactly do what Indiana did. They should schedule Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, and Indiana State. It benefits you none to schedule a Texas, a Notre Dame, an Ohio State, a Miami. It no benefit whatsoever to take a blue blood from another conference and put it in your non-conference schedule.
Right.
There's the committee has shown that there is
They don't care.
no benefit to it whatsoever.
Right.
So if you have a non-conference schedule, it better be loaded with South Alabama,
Yeah.
Jackson State,
Kent
Kent
State,
State.
Toledo. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because at this point,
Absolutely.
right, if they're not going to care, if the
Because
committee's not
all it
going to
is
care.
wins and losses, right?
Yeah.
Well, win your
So,
games. Okay. Well, I'll win my games against Siena Heights.
yeah. Yeah. Everybody, yeah, right. Everybody wants to talk about it and everybody wants to act like,
Right.
the end of the world and all this other kind of stuff. So then, yeah, do it. I'll go play all these Division 2, Division 3 schools and I'll spank on them. Cause like you were saying at the beginning, like if Texas were to start week 1 by beating South Alabama by 70, as opposed to losing to Ohio State by one
They're in the
possession,
playoffs.
they'd be in the playoffs. So it's like, okay, if that's how we're gonna do things going forward, then yeah, he's right. He's like, I'm not gonna worry about it.
If Notre Dame would have scheduled Toledo instead of A&M or Miami, they would be in the playoffs.
Right. Which I think is silliness, but
It is. And
it
that's the point. That's why my thought is you have to value close losses to highly ranked teams more than wins against Bethune Cookman that Miami beat
right.
by 45 this year.
Right.
They scheduled Bethune Cookman. What I don't even
Never
know what a
what even
Bethune
is that?
Cookman is.
Yeah.
And that's one of their wins. And you're trying to tell me that we're comparable.
Yeah. I don't get it. Because even if
So,
you
so that's why. But this is where we're at now. And Sark's right, and all these other guys are right. That have been saying it. Why? Why would you do it? There's no upside to it.
yeah.
Zero upside
People
to
and
scheduling
people
that game.
people are gonna sit there and be like, "Oh, well, Sark's just pulling out because they don't win." Like, no, that's not the case because like again, there's no payout to it whatsoever. So why would you do
He's
it?
taking the information that was given to him and he's using it.
Yeah,
And I don't blame him.
I don't fault him at all for it. I don't fault him
I
at all.
don't blame him. I think, Michigan, I think, and this is going to, and look, here's the other thing. Like, I'm a Notre Dame fan. This is going to hurt Notre Dame
Yeah,
because nobody in a conference is going to schedule Notre Dame
no,
because there's no benefit to them. So this is going to hurt Notre Dame. So Notre Dame is now either going to be forced to play a schedule that's not going to give them any credibility to get into a playoff, or their hands going to be forced to get some type of conference affiliation, which would transition to the next thing now because they're already in talks with the SEC to have same kind of deal that they had with ACC. They don't want that deal with the ACC anymore. They want the deal with the SEC.
mm-hmm.
They want to stick it to the ACC. So all the comments that we had, oh, they would get trucked in it. We're going to find out because if the deal is the same, then you're going to have a minimum of 6 SEC games on your schedule every single year. Now everybody's going to say, well, it's going to be the bottom feeders because that's what they choose. Listen, the
That's just
conference
what it
chooses
is.
it. It's not just look, ACC chooses which 16 based off of their schedule and stuff like that. So the SEC is going to look. It's not just saying, "Oh, I want to play them and them and them and them." And then also at the same time too is you got to look back at what the schedules were 3 years ago, because that's when the records of these teams were 3 years ago, because that's when the schedules were made. So if somebody was 9-3 3 years ago, but they were 3-9 this year, and you're like, oh, you played a 3-9 team. Well, I scheduled
So
them when they were nine
stupid.
and three.
Right.
So like, but anyway, so this is where again, and this just goes back to again where we need to figure out the whole playoff situation, because the system's screwed up and it's
It's
getting even
horrible.
more screwed up
Yeah.
because of what the committee's doing. And now you're going to make changes to it because we had it 1 year, we made changes. Now we're going to make changes again. And it's like,
Well, okay, so now,
I don't
and
know.
you mentioned Notre Dame, right? And you're like, I'm a Notre Dame fan, da, da, da. So, okay, so now we've already been getting absolutely destroyed in the comments for defending Notre Dame not being in a conference and all this other kind of stuff. Well, at what point do we here, as a partial Notre Dame fan and as a Notre Dame fan, at what point do we here kind of draw the line and be like, well, all right, we can't defend you anymore because like all the other stuff that's coming out now, how they're like closing the bookstore for people for because a guy in a committee was doing a book signing and like all this other kind of stuff. They're saying they're going to freeze themselves out of scheduling and things like that and whatnot. So, at what point does it get to be like, okay, you guys are doing too much?
Oh, I think that yeah. Look, I understand not playing in the bowl game.
Right.
Okay. Look, they're one of over a dozen teams that chose to not play in a bowl game. So let's not single them specifically out for not playing in a bowl game. And the teams that are playing in a bowl game, your starters aren't playing. You know what I mean? And I
Right.
get the whole extra week of practice and yada 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 and all that other kind of stuff or whatever. But listen, that whole thing was, when you had a 9 game schedule, and now you have a 12 game schedule with a conference championship game with the playoffs and everything else. So look, that stuff doesn't hold water me anymore, because your guys aren't playing,
Right.
and all that kind of stuff. So but I will say, like, yeah, like the committee member that was supposed to have a book signing at the university and they canceled it and stuff like that. I like that's But that's again, that's administration getting involved and being petty at a level that then now comes back on Marcus Freeman and the players, when really here was the situation with that. Marcus Freeman went to the players and he said, "Look, this is your decision. You guys make a decision. What do you want to do?" The players got together and they said, "Look, if we're not in the playoffs, then Jadarian Price, Jeremiah Love,
Mm-hmm.
amongst others, are going to sit out and get ready for the draft. We've battled with these guys all year long. We don't feel right playing another game, especially an exhibition game, without them. So if they're not going to play, we're not going to play." And that was the decision. Now you have, and I don't have a problem with Bavacqua and stuff like that, the AD and all that, too much. But he, some of the stuff, it's like, okay, calm down a little bit. But there's administration people that that are involved, that make comments and decisions and things like that that do get petty, and that part of it needs to stop. Like, let's just, I mean, nobody, because all people are going to do is use that to needle you and use that against you and everything else.
Yep.
Like, the people that aren't really involved with the program, the people that aren't involved day to day in the heart of the program, sit back and shut up. You know what I
I
mean?
agree. No,
The
100%.
administration, all of that, the suits, sit back and shut up. Like, don't get involved. You're just making things worse.
Mm-hmm.
What
No.
Freeman and the players did was fine, but you canceling a book signing and
See, that's
stupid
yeah.
stuff like that, that's dumb.
It's too
That's
much.
dumb.
It's too
And
much.
Marcus Freeman even came out too, and he even said, because every, that's the big question that everybody asks him, right? It's like, well, why don't you, are you guys ever going to join? And Marcus Freeman came out and said, okay, look, once it becomes painfully obvious to us that we absolutely have to, so that we don't hurt our student athletes, then we will.
Mm-hmm.
We'll make the assessment and we will. and it looks like that's happening sooner rather than later. So look, I mean, Notre Dame tried to hold on to history and tradition for as long as they could. They financially benefited from it, but the landscape is changing. They're
Yeah.
trying to do what they can to keep the status quo, but it's becoming painfully obvious that that's probably not going to happen for very much longer. So we'll see. We'll see what happens moving forward. But
Yeah, we'll see. So there, that's pretty much everything else we got for college football, right? I mean, I don't know if there's anything else that hit kind of the news this week, aside from all of the, the college football playoff nonsense, the whole thing
yeah,
going on with Michigan, and then Texas and Notre Dame, and all that kind of stuff.
yeah, the Bryce
We've come.
Underwood deal and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So yeah, we don't know.
we've kind of been spamming the college football content here. Let's kind of shift gears over to the NFL because, our last couple episodes we talked about how the Lions were doing and then the playoff picture and all this other kind of stuff. So there's one thing I kind of want to like touch on, kind of rant about real
You've
quickly
been
here.
itching. You've
That
been
yeah,
itching.
I kind
This
of
is where we're gonna. This is where we're gonna come to blows. I think.
Okay, so well, I here's where I'm at, right? I think that Daniel Jones, God bless him, hope he recovers fast. He was bringing he was reviving his career there. He kind of got ran through the mud in New York, and everybody kind of pushed him away as a bad quarterback. Then he came in Indy and was like, wow, this guy's actually pretty good. So God bless him, hope he returns. And he's all right moving forward. But so now you're the Colts, right? So you got Riley Leonard, your only option because Richardson got hurt
And he
again.
got
He's on
hurt.
IR. And then yeah, so Riley was your only option, then he got hurt. So which also sucks because I was really looking forward to seeing Riley Leonard out there playing. But so now you're in a situation where you're like, okay, well, we don't have a quarterback. So you go out and you get 44-year-old after 5 years of being retired, Philip Rivers, who hasn't played since COVID. Now, let me ask you why you're out there and that's your option that you go with. What, because he played 2 seasons in the Colts prior? You've got guys like Cam Newton who are younger and are in still in peak shape right now that has openly been saying every single day since his second departure from the Panthers, I am willing to come back and play for anybody at any position. Backup, whatever. I'm willing to come in and play. Why, and now you could say what you will about Cam Newton because of his off-field, comments or opinions or instances he's gotten into. Okay, so I can name 370 other players that have been in worse situations than Cam Newton, right?
Deshaun Watson's still on a team.
Exactly. Just because Cam Newton has a podcast and whatever, like I think it's absolutely absurd that you're the Colts organization right now. You're looking at a team that started out with 7-1, 8-1, whatever. You're at a situation right now where you just lost ground in your division, by the way. You looking like you were going to run away with even the AFC almost. Why are you now in a position where you obviously are making the moves that this is your season? You're going all out this year. You the trade for
Mm-hmm.
Sauce Gardner, like all this other kind of stuff. You look at your options at quarterback and you think that Philip Rivers is your guy that's going to get you there over Cam Newton at this stage of their lives. If you would have, sure, 10 years ago, if that was the question, obviously Philip Rivers. But right now, in 2025, no, I'm not saying those were your only two options and that it was like they picked one or the other. I'm not saying that. Obviously, that wasn't the case. But I'm just saying, like, what. And I'm sure maybe the Colts, there might be more, but like, I don't understand because you look at other teams too, like the Vikings going with Max Brosmer while Cam Newton's sitting there being like, hey, I'm willing to come out and play for anybody. The Cardinals with Jacoby Brissett, like, you've got these teams. I mean, what are we doing right now?
Yeah, here's the only thing that I can say on it. Look, if you've got a guy who actively is wanting to play and has the ability to play, and 32 teams have assessed that and said, no, we don't want you even for league minimum. I think it's kind of like the conversation that you and I always had, when you were a kid going to whatever, you know what I mean, in school. And it was like, okay, well, this teacher, hates me. This teacher hates me. This teacher's, well, wait a minute, 8 teachers can't hate you. There's a common denominator here. So let's figure out what's going on. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? So I think that there's probably some of that, and I don't know, but I'm just looking at it saying that he's actively said over and over and over again, I want to play, I want to play. I never wanted to retire. I was always ready to play, and I still want to play now, and I can play, and everything else. I don't know why everybody's saying no. Okay, but if 32 teams are saying no, we're not even going to bring you in. I I don't know. There's something that we're not privy to. That's the one thing that I can say. I'll just say there's something that we don't know, and I don't know what that is, and all that other kind of stuff or whatever. But look, because you get it, he's 36. He's obviously still in shape. He's been wanting to play, so he's staying in shape and everything else. I don't know what the problem is. I don't know what it was that got, that the league just kind of transitioned away from him. Could be agent, could be, contract stuff, could be, demands that he has, could be, that the players in the locker room, that the coaching staff goes and says, hey, do you want to bring Cam Newton in? And everybody says, hell no. I don't know. Okay. It could, I mean, and I'm speculating on all of it, but there's something. There has to be something there. 32 teams aren't going to just keep saying no, 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 no without there being something, because like you said, you can run down the list of people that need somebody to be a quarterback,
Yeah.
right? So there's that. I'll say the other part of it is, with the Colts, like you said, yes, he was part of the Colts organization. Now obviously there's been turnover in the coaching staff and leadership and everything else, but I think that if you have a familiarity with a guy, then I also think that at the same time you're already having communications with the guy. I don't think the communication ever stopped between them. So I
Probably
think that
not.
if that two-way communication is still going on, it's easy to say, "Hey, you know, let's bring you." I think it's more seamless. Now, that being said, he is 44. But again, we've also seen Joe Flacco. You know what I mean? Like he's stepped in just on a week's notice and competed and won for the Browns and for the Bengals and stuff like that. So and look, Philip Rivers was one of the best. And I think also at the same time, if you look at what Daniel Jones was, okay, Daniel Jones in New York was awful, right? The system did not fit who Daniel Jones was. It fit more who Cam Newton was, right? So now he goes to the Colts and the system fits him and he was having a great year. So I think the Colts also have to look at, do I go, because there's a reason why Anthony Richardson, look, maybe Anthony Richardson is I mean, he just doesn't fit that prototypical stand up, quick read, strong arm type quarterback. Cam Newton, again, while he has one of the strongest arms that there is, Cam Newton's more of a playmaker. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to tell Cam Newton, I want you just to stand there and only run when it's a third down and everything breaks down and make something happen. We're not going to, we don't want you taking off or anything. So I don't know. Maybe it's the system. Maybe it's that. Maybe again, I'm just thinking out loud, trying to speculate. I don't think it's as egregious as people want to get upset about it. I think it's just more of hey, here's a guy that we know. Here's a guy that we've been in constant communication with. Here's a guy that's been in the system. Here's a guy that knows the facilities, knows everybody around, and he is Daniel Jones, and he's going to do what Daniel Jones did, as opposed to a guy that we've never dealt with before that for some reason for years 32 teams are saying no.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, I mean, you're right. Like, why are all 32 teams saying no? And you know, it kind of reminds me of like at that one stage with Tim Tebow back in the day after the
Right.
Broncos, when no, we were kind of sitting there like, you're telling me that like there's not a single team that could benefit from having Tim Tebow. I like, it's kind of one of those situations like, what is it? Like, because obviously it's nothing
Right.
that's being released to the public, right?
Right.
And again, there's just no way that 32 teams are looking at this guy and saying he wouldn't even be a good backup, right? Because
Right.
Cam Newton's even got to the point where he's like, I'll come in as a backup. You know what I mean? Like, and you know, like you say, you mentioned some things about like, okay, maybe it's contract, maybe it's wants and needs or whatever. I mean, obviously, I'm getting a lot of my info from Cam Newton himself and his podcast, but it seems to me that he's
Mhm.
projecting himself as like, look, I'll take pay cuts, I'll do like what he's like, I just want to play. So yeah, I have no idea what it is. I don't know why because you're right. It's like one of those situations where it's like, how are all 32 teams saying there's not even a spot for you whatsoever? I mean, you've got teams that are like Washington, right? Yeah, Mariota, whatever. But like you've got teams that are literally bringing Teddy Bridgewater back to be our backup guy. Like he's been on
Mhm.
37 teams. Right, he
Mhm.
retired to go coach high school football, and they're like, "Well, do you want to come back and be a backup?" He's like, "Yeah, why not?" Like,
But
I don't
again,
understand it.
again, that he came back to. I mean, that was the with the Lions, and he came back to a team that he had just been on.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's like a seamless thing. That's why like bringing back the Teddy Bridgewater over Cam Newton made sense because. And here's also the other part of it too. And I think that no fault of Cam Newton's, but and the same with Tim Tebow, right? If he's on the team but he's not the guy, the press, the fans, there's so much pressure of why aren't we seeing, like I remember when Tim Tebow signed on as the third string quarterback with the Patriots, the last team that he signed with before he got cut and was just out of the league. And this was after Tom Brady had left and stuff like that or whatever. And every, or I don't know if he was still on the team or whatever, but I remember that they came to play the Lions in the preseason, and the fans, the stands were packed and stayed to the very end because they wanted to see Tim Tebow play. So if you have if you have him, a guy like that, like a Cam Newton on the team, but he's not the guy, then it causes a problem because you got to deal with those questions every single week, week in, week out. And it's like, we can't prepare that way. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how, you know what I mean? So, I mean, and again, no fault of Cam Newton's, but I appreciate him saying that he would want to be a backup and stuff. He would, be willing to be a backup and all that other kind of stuff. But I think that, if you bring him in to be the backup, everybody's gonna be like, well, why isn't he starting? Why isn't he starting? Why isn't he starting?
Yeah.
When is he going to start? And then that puts undue pressure on your starter. I
Right.
have to be perfect or Cam Newton's coming in.
Yeah, I guess, and I guess you can kind of see a similar type of situation right now in Cleveland with Shador, right? Like,
Yeah,
I mean, Cleveland was getting absolutely, destroyed because of like, why isn't he playing? Why isn't he playing? And now, they made things right and everybody seems to be happy. And Shador
yeah.
actually is playing
He should have been playing all
all
along.
along because he's
Yeah.
and I will say this, I will say this, he's actually looked pretty good, like
No,
for give it what he's got, but so
exactly. That's what I was going to say.
for what
All
he's got,
things being considered, that it's Cleveland,
yeah.
he's actually
Um,
looked pretty good,
But
and
I think
in
like
that.
yeah, I mean it's just you're right. It is for a guy like Cam Newton, I mean when he came back to the Panthers that one year, right? Um and he scored or whatever and then he wasn't starting. So like they brought him back, but he wasn't starting and everybody was like, "Well, why bring him back?" Cuz he's a legend for the Panthers if you think about it. I mean, the Panthers haven't been good since
Took
him.
him to a Super Bowl.
Right. So it's kind of one of those situations where people were like, I guess you've already kind of seen it, where they tried to bring him in as a backup in Carolina because
Yeah.
they brought him in kind of in an emergency basis type thing, and then he played a couple games. He played all right, and you could see the rust was there. He was a little rusty, but yeah, and then he games he wasn't starting. Everybody was like, well, why? What? And everybody kind of freaked out. But I guess at the end of the day, I think he's made it known that this is the situation. I feel like with that being said, like Tim Tebow never came out there and was like, "I'm okay with this," or I mean, he did, but he never made it. Tim Tebow doesn't care what the public thinks, right? Whereas
Hmm.
Cam does to an extent. So I think if
And you're right.
came out was like, listen, if I go to a team and it's also got to be on him to be like, look, I'm happy where I'm at. Stop, going crazy if I'm not starting, unless, but Cam would never do that.
But here's the thing, though, right? Like, and I think that it's unfair to put that on an athlete. Like, it's unfair. Like, okay, I guarantee you, you look at every professional athlete on every single roster for every single league for every single team in the four major sports, and you ask any of them, do you want to play? What is the answer going to be?
Well, of course.
Absolutely. I want to play. So I think that that's and that's where like ESPN and all these other people, it's unfair to do to these athletes, because if you ask Cam Newton, do you want to play? Do you think you should be playing? He'd be like, I'm working. I want to be the guy. I want to be on the field. I want to help the team win. That's a response that every single person who ever puts a uniform on should have. But then he's going to get lambasted for it because, no, you're supposed to be the backup and you're supposed to say, well, no, JoJo Smith is our guy. Well, no, no. If anybody on my team, third stringers on whatever, ever said, no, I don't deserve to play, then you know what? Then you don't deserve to wear the uniform. You know what I'm saying? So don't put a microphone in front of these guys and ask them something stupid like that, and you get the answer that you're going to get from every single person that's ever put a uniform on,
Right.
and then you attack him for it. Like, that's the part. That's the again, like, that's why I said no fault of Cam Newton's. That's a problem, because that's what's going to happen. That's what we see, with this stuff, and that could be an issue as to why some of these teams might not want to bring him back in, because they might not say that okay, well, we'll bring you in, and yeah, you agree to be a backup and everything else, and you're not going to be the starter, but then you're going to have to deal with that in the locker room, because then you're going to get because there's going to be players that are like, well, we've got Cam Newton, why isn't he playing? And then there's going to be division and stuff like that. And sometimes you just don't want that. And again, I hate to say it, and I've said it 6 or 7 times already, but it, it, no fault of his own, you can't have that. So it's like either Cam Newton's got to be the guy or he's can't be on the team. And I think that at 36 years old, with whatever happened, the injuries, the beating that he took because Carolina abused the hell
Yeah.
out of him. You know what I mean? I mean, they abused the hell out of him, and
Yep.
they're like, we can't commit to him being our guy, and so then that's where you have a problem. Then you can't bring him in at all. I mean, that's my thought on it. Like, I don't think it's as cut and dry as Cam Newton's better than Philip Rivers. I mean, obviously, Cam Newton's a better athlete than Philip Rivers,
Of course, but
and
you're
he's
right. When
8 years
it
younger.
also comes to play styles, right? I can name 50 athletes better than Tom Brady, but you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
it's not what it comes down to at the end of the day. So
Right. And it's the system too,
it is.
right?
It
Like,
is.
again, like, you look at what Daniel Jones was and what he was able to do. Is Cam Newton a guy who's just going to stand there and sling the ball around?
Right.
I mean, he
Yeah.
can, but he he's he's too good at other things also to not do those other things. And then it like kind of throws off your flow and your offensive
Yeah.
rhythm and all that other kind of stuff.
That's
And
true.
so I don't know. It,
Yeah.
it I know that you were upset.
Well,
I know you
I'm
were upset.
upset more so than just like, I wouldn't say upset. For me, it's kind of just like, yeah, I mean, you bring up that part. I never really thought about it that way, but still, like, it's not. I'm not upset. I just think it's kind of dumb. I would rather see Cam Newton out there on Sunday than Philip Rivers. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like Cam Newton would probably put you in a better situation, but I guess you're right. I mean, systems matter. There's got to be something else going on. But then again, I feel like, I don't know. It just seems odd to me for Cam to be out there on his podcast and on whatever and just being like, I want to play, I want to play, I want to play nonstop. If there's something going on that we all don't know about, why would he still be doing that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. And
So
that's the part that we don't know, right? Like,
yeah, I don't know.
we don't know.
So
And
we'll
look,
s-
here's the other part of it too. Like, Cam's he's an odd bird.
yeah, he is, but he's also a
I mean, he's
fantastic
different.
player.
So he could be, you know what I mean? Like, his him saying that or whatever. I don't know. Like, I mean, he could be being told all the reasons why he's not being signed and just ignoring them and then coming
Mhm.
out saying, "Hey, I want to play." I don't know. Again, I don't want to disparage the guy. I don't like. I just think that there's a lot that we don't know.
Yeah.
But I also think that it's just too easy for the Colts to say, look, we've been in constant communication with this guy. He was on the team last, and he fits the Daniel Jones mold of what our offense is, even more so than Riley Leonard or Anthony Richardson on your team. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, so
Well,
yeah.
yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll see how Philip Rivers comes out. Who do the Colts play next? Because he's playing right away, right?
He's been practicing. I mean, he was
Well, because
in.
they didn't
They were showing him at practice.
they had a tight end. They had a tight end as their emergency quarterback.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I
They
mean,
play the Seahawks
okay, so
at Seattle. So
yeah, eh, that's a tough one to start
that's a
with,
tough
right?
one to
That's a
start
tough
on.
that's a
That is
tough
a
go, and then it doesn't get any easier because
doesn't
then
get any
what
easier. Well,
you got the Niners and then the Jags and then the Texans. You, what do
that's a
you you
tough
know? Good
that's a
luck,
tough
Phil.
go for a guy just coming back after 5 years of not playing. That's
Good luck, Phil.
good luck. Good luck to you. But all right, well let's wrap up with some quick little baseball talk here. We got Pete
Yeah.
Alonso going to Baltimore, Schwarber staying in Philly, and we're
Ed,
looking like we're gonna see Tarek in
Edwin Diaz went to the Dodgers,
and speaking of
the
Dodgers, it's looking
Dodgers.
like we're gonna see Tarek in a Dodgers uniform too.
It's so from what I can see, um, likely trade. Um, Basically everything's been agreed to. I think at this point it's just a matter of physicals being done and stuff like that. Um, yep.
It's unfortunate. It really is. It sucks.
So the what's been talked about is so that the Tigers would send over Tarek Skubal and Wenceel Perez, but so Perez is he's basically a to make the numbers work kind of a
Right.
thing and roster spots and all that other kind of stuff or whatever. But Tigers would receive Emmett Sheehan, Zaire Hope, Patrick Copen, Alex Freeland, James Tibbs III.
With all due respect, I have not a clue who any of these dudes are.
So Sheehan pitched a little bit last year. He's one of their top prospect pitchers. Um, Outside of that, I don't know. I don't know. It, and that's a little bit frustrating for me. You had 2 years of not only making the playoffs but winning a playoff series.
Mhm.
You and you had the amazing run at the end of the one year and you had the amazing start at the beginning of the other year and then kind of fell. You're a player or two away. Why weren't we in the Pete Alonso mix? Why weren't we in the Kyle Schwarber mix? Can we do something with Alex Bregman maybe? Um, you know what I'm saying? Like if you're and I understand because I've been on record saying you can't spend the money on Scooble the way that the game is now. It's not like Greg Maddux or Roger Clemens or Pedro Martinez when those guys deserved all of the Tarek Scooble type money because they pitched complete games. They pitched they went out there every 4 days. You knew if you were on a losing streak, they were your stopper. They were going to save your bullpen, all of that kind of stuff. The way that the game is now, even when Tarek Skubals had one complete game his entire career, and he averages 6 or 7 innings, and then you've got to rely on a bullpen. So if you're going to spend all of your money on a guy who goes out every 5 days for 6 or 7 innings, then what are you doing, right? Like you're not going to be able to keep a lead because you're going to pull in, me and you out from the bullpen, and I'm giving up. I'm well. I throw no hitters. Like I don't get nobody touches, but I mean they're just I mean we're walking around the bases. I mean I'm walking them loaded. I'm hitting
Yeah,
guys and
you
stuff like that. So
you
that's
suck, but no,
oh
I think what's
I've never
frustrating.
given up a hit.
Yeah, because you never given up a hit, but you hit people. So I think what's
True.
frustrating is like we talk about after the World Series, after they beat Toronto, that we were like, okay, well, this is gonna ruin baseball now, right? Because they went out, got all these dudes, built a super team, whatever, yada yada yada. Like that was talked almost even before the playoffs, almost even before the World Series. People were already kind of be like, Dodgers are gonna end up winning and da da da. Once they beat Toronto and won the World Series again, we're like, this is gonna ruin baseball. There needs to be a salary cap. This is unbelievable. This is what happens when it's unfair and da da da. And now they're gonna go out and get Tarek Skubal. I mean, this is gonna
And they
people are
already
gonna
signed Edwin Diaz.
yeah, like people are going to erupt. Like it's going to end really badly um, for the league. Like I mean, you're
Yeah.
gonna start now. It's one of those situations, right? Like, are people gonna stop watching? Probably not. Maybe, but not enough to make an impact. But it's gonna suck, and I think it is ultimately ruining the game by allowing this. So I think we do need. So let me ask. So is there gonna be a
Yeah.
lockout if this happens? Right, this isn't gonna
Yeah.
be end all be all, but I think this is one step closer. If
Well,
this
I did
still
see a
goes
thing. I
through,
forget what the account was that posted Dodgers have clinched a lockout.
yeah,
And it's true because yeah, and that's what you're looking at, right? Like so and you talk about like everybody's sitting there saying, well, you don't need a salary cap, you need a salary floor. Look, I've already explained how a salary cap raises the salary floor. In because what's going to happen now is, um, you know, 10 of the 15 teams in the National League are not going to spend any money now. Why
right,
would you? Now there's four other teams like the Phillies and the Padres and that are gonna spend money to try to compete. But there's 10 that are not going to
yeah,
because it's no if you capped the Dodgers, then the Pirates, then the other teams, then they're like, you know what? I just have to extend myself a little bit and
just a
now I'm
little bit.
competitive,
But
right?
you're right, and you're right. But it is. You're right. Like it is one of those things where it's like when with this looming over you as the league, right? With this looming over you as a commissioner, and then this is about to go through probably by morning time. I mean, an hour ago it was like very close, right? So I would imagine
Yeah.
by tomorrow we're gonna have this finalized. But like if you're the commissioner, right, and if you're like in suits and ties of the league, right, and you see this go through with all this looming over you, I mean it can't be good. I mean, does something happen before this season starts, or is it gonna take another year?
Well, no. So you have until the end of the year to reach an agreement. They're going to let it go to the end of the year. They're not going to lock out. They're going to finish that year. It's just that they're not going to. They're going to finish out the current CBA. So you'll have a 2026 season. You'll have a Dodgers three-peat, and then what you'll do is you won't have a 27. And I don't know if you'll have a 28 because that's a
Well,
big sticking point.
so now also like what happens with Skeens? There's no way he's gonna stay in Pittsburgh much longer.
Well, yeah, there's no way.
I'm surprised he's still there.
And I think that the Pirates are trying to ride out as much as they can from him. But yeah, I mean, you're these teams that have these stud athletes coming up through their farm system. Once they're rookie contracts, once they're outside of team control, they're gone.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't it's going to be interesting to see because for the longest time baseball was one of those sports where it was like somebody new every season, right? Now it's looking like we're about to hit NBA territory here, or we're about to hit that. I'll say the NBA is different now. I think the NBA is getting better as time goes on, but I think like we're about to hit that LeBron, Steph Golden State, Miami, Golden State, Cleveland type of deal where it's going to be Yankee, Dodger, kind of that they're the Cavs and Warriors of MLB right now. And I think that's not a good spot to be in because for a good 10-year stretch, the NBA was unwatchable.
Well, and then also too, what you're going to see is you're going to see the LeBrons play for six teams.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Uh, Mike Trout. What's
Yeah.
is he literally going to stay on the Angels for his career?
I mean, that
I
would
mean,
be insane.
what left of it he has from the injuries and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, you look at these guys and it's like, how many of them sit there and they say, well, I want to go play for the Yankees or the Dodgers. One, because we're instant World Series contenders and they're going to give me the most amount of money.
And the draw, too, of the brand. Like,
Or right. Yeah. I mean, there's the history of it and the brand. And yeah, I mean, they're the iconic franchises of the sport. And, but still, I mean, so, I mean, it's how, in a free agency situation, who's going to compete with that?
yeah.
The only way that you can compete with that is if you have like a Ken Griffey that comes out and says, if the only team that wants to sign me is the Yankees, I'm going to retire. That's the only way that you can compete with them is a player absolutely refuses to go to one of them.
Yeah.
Because look, I mean, I can't be mad at any of them that go there. I mean, I didn't like the comment that Glass now made. Um,
Yeah. If you
at
can't join or if you can't beat
if
them,
you
join
can't
them.
beat them, join them. Like I don't like that. Like that's not a comment that you should ever make as a player, as an athlete. Um, but look, if you're in a free agent situation, why not?
Yeah. I mean, well, and also you can't blame Tarek in this situation fully either. He's from
Well, it's a
California.
trade, so yeah. I mean,
Well, and also, but like he's from California, and not only that, but he tried to stay with Detroit, but we didn't offer him what I mean. I understand one of the, like you mentioned, you get 6, 7 innings out of him, and then whatever you can't like. So giving him all that money might be kind of ridiculous, but at the same time, like we also offered him way too low than even that. Like if we could have found a healthy medium, and we just didn't. So I mean, that's just the Illiches for you.
again, yeah, again, I don't necessarily. The other part of it that I don't understand too is we talked to Scott Harris, and Scott Harris was like, "Well, our offense is going to come from within the next year." Like, what are we doing? So that means we're not going after Bregman. We didn't make a play for Pete Alonso. We didn't make a play for Kyle Schwarber. We're not going to make a play for Kyle Tucker. Like, what are we doing? We're a
Right, because
playoff team
we're
two
two
years in a
hitters away
row that
from
have
a
won
World
playoff
Series.
series, and one big bat could make a huge. I mean, and not only did we win playoff series, but the second series in both years, we had a lead going into the seventh or eighth inning of game
Hmm.
five in those series
And it
to
was
win and move on to the next round.
and it was bullpen issues that cost us.
You're a bullpen arm or a bat away
Which
from being in the championship series 2 years in a row, and you're not going out to get guys.
which given Scooble everything you got doesn't change that problem. It doesn't help that
Right.
problem.
No,
But
because yeah.
once again, though, like those games that he gets you into that situation, right? Like you need like you're right. So giving Scooble all this money and keeping him doesn't change the issues as to why we're in the World Series the last 2 years. But you also were. I mean, he was
Just
13
want
and
to
6 last year. He was 13 and 6.
right, and I get it, but I just want to point out that in both of those game fives, Scooble took the loss.
Yeah.
Or he didn't take the loss, but he pitched and we lost those games. Not saying it was Scooble's fault at all. Like he gave up the grand slam, right? Whatever. But I mean, he was given everything he had. But that's my point of it, right? Like that's why you can't just say, "Oh, we got Scooble, and we're going to give him all the money we have," because even when he's at his best, you're not guaranteed a win.
Yeah.
And that's only every 5 days to begin with. That's 1/5 of the year if he stays healthy. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like that's why you can't do it. But then what are we doing trading for these guys?
Doesn't make any sense.
Like you could get somebody. I mean, he's a big enough, especially going to the Dodgers and or even if you parade him out to the Yankees or to the Red Sox or to these teams that have the money and have the resources and everything else. Let's get somebody. But
Right.
no, we're getting these guys, and then we're relying on. Now, listen, we do have the best farm system in the league, and we got guys that are ready to come up. But again, we thought that about Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson and Colt Keith and yeah, I mean they're serviceable and Riley shows glimpses and stuff like, but he strikes out more than anybody else in the league. Spencer Torkelson is so up and down. Colt Keith, I mean, you hope he turns into a power hitter, but this is where, okay, so we've got three more guys coming up that are supposedly the cream of the crop. Well, what if they turn out to be like Green, Torkelson, and Keith? Then what? Oh, we're building from within. Let's get some proven pieces.
Yeah, I agree.
And are you trying to tell me that having a Bregman on the team wouldn't help these young guys
Oh
out?
yeah, yeah, because you get that veteran input and you get you get somebody who's been there before, right?
Right.
So you get somebody with experience in there that can kind of have an impact on these young guys too. You talk about these young guys and these prospects, and honestly, get somebody who can put an impact on them.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we
That's the
bring
frustrating.
Gleyber Torres back, right? I mean, I guess Gleyber's your most experienced guy that we have, but
Right.
and I love Gleyber, and I'm glad we brought him back. I think he's a good addition, but
Yeah.
he's also not. He's not your Bregman. He's not your Alonso. He's not your Schwarber.
Right. Exactly. Like those guys are going to have insights and little tweaks like a guy like Alonso. Think about how much that benefits Torkelson to have a guy like Alonso on the team.
Right.
They're the same type of a hitter. They're the same type of a player. And you got a guy who can be in his ear all the time, day in, day out. And then it's like, okay, well, this is make or break torque. Like, what are we doing? Right? Like you get a guy like Bregman who can take Colt Keith aside and he could say, look, if you want to be the everyday third baseman, here's what we're doing. You,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? And then just even Schwarber. Imagine what he could do to Riley Green's swing.
Exactly.
Why are you striking out so much? Schwarber strikes out a lot too, but Schwarber strikes out like there's a difference. Riley Green struck out. It's when you strike out too.
Mhm.
And Schwarber has the knack of being able to shorten his swing and not strike. He strikes out when he's swinging for a home run, when a home run is what's needed. Like when a base hit is needed or just get on, he shortens up and he doesn't strike out.
Yeah, and he just
Riley Green strikes out in any
any
situation.
situation.
And that's the conversation that Schwarber could have with Green
Right.
to make that adjustment,
Yeah.
but I,
Well,
I don't
I
know.
mean,
It's frustrating to me
it is.
because you got the money.
You do.
You absolutely have the money
Yeah. So
and you're there. Again, you're a game five. You're a couple innings away
yeah.
in back-to-back years from a championship series.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll see.
You got me more fired up talking about this than even the college football stuff.
Really?
Yeah, I'm fired up now. Like, let's go. Spring training. What do we got
Yeah,
here?
yeah, big baseball guys. Yeah, I'm excited for baseball to be back too, but I'm also like the Tigers are they're teasing us here, right? They're
Actually,
teasing.
more excited for the World Baseball Classic coming
Oh
up.
yeah, the World Baseball Classic is going to
A
be
couple
awesome.
months
We'll have to get
away.
back to another game. We went last year. We'll have to make it happen.
Yeah,
Get some content from the World Baseball
not
Classic.
last year, but the last time.
Or last, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like so we gotta get back there and get some content there. We should have been making content at that time because that we had a lot of awesome experiences at the last one. So
Oh, yeah.
we need to get back to the WBC and
I
we need to
still say
bring
that
you
was
guys
one of the
along.
coolest things ever. I
Yeah,
was
absolutely
just
ever. Ever.
loved every part of it, and
Yeah,
every part of it was awesome.
it was strong. It
Um,
was pretty good. It was pretty
yeah,
good.
like I said, I mean, it was the Japanese fans, the Dominican fans, the Mexican
Yeah.
fans, the Puerto Rican fans,
It was awesome.
everybody. everybody was awesome. Everybody was having a good time. Everybody was just loving it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was cool. It was really, really cool. That's I'm looking forward to it again. And the US is like, okay, dudes, like we get to see Aaron Judge and these dudes, and
Yeah.
that, look, everybody wants to be a part of it now, which
Yeah.
is going to be really, really cool. Because
And you got to think
that's
too, Harper would have been in it last time, but he was hurt. So Harper's going to be
right.
back. So that'll be awesome,
Yep.
right? Like it'll be cool. But also like you talk about the US team, I mean like dude, like the Puerto Rican team and like the Cuban and the Dominican with those dudes, like you're going to see Vlad and the Dominican,
Yeah.
you've got Javi Baez back in Puerto Rico just being amazing, like that. I mean that was his claim to fame truly. I mean, yeah, in the
Yep.
Cubs, but like that's where he really
Yep.
made his name was playing in the
Yeah.
World Baseball
Lindor.
Classic. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
see Lindor. Like it's gonna be, and
Yeah.
then you get Freddie Freeman playing for Canada.
Oh, it's so good.
Like it's good stuff. So yeah, we'll be covering that a lot when
Yeah.
that's going on. We'll be covering that a lot. So
Just a great tournament.
well,
Yeah,
you got anything else?
I got nothing else on that, but yeah, just make sure that again, all the socials, don't be heavy onto one, kind of spread the love around, like,
Mhm.
um, and that. But listen, good, bad, or indifferent, whatever. We love the interaction. Interaction's a good time, and so and you to the point to where listen, we'll jump in and interact as much as we can, but we're gonna miss a lot of comments and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I mean we had two videos that over 1,000 comments combined on both videos. Like we try, I like to interact, but we also don't like to argue with people too at the same time. Like we'll have a good conversation or
yeah,
whatever. But like,
but yeah, so I mean, it's good stuff. I like it. Let us know what we can do different. Let us know what your thoughts are on what we're saying, and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I got. So
deuces,
catch you
go
on the
Bucks.
flippity flip.